All right. Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. I am joined today by with by Danny Black, my friend, and I got to know Danny through Hobby Think Tank channel over on or show over on Bench Clear Media that I became a part of last month. It feels like 6 months ago already, and got to know Danny a little bit. And I thought, hey, why don't you come on my channel, do a little interview, get to know you a little bit better, and I think Danny is a super interesting guy and he has a ton of hobby experience that we're going to talk a little bit about. So, Danny, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
First of all, thank you for having me. Honored to be here. Big fan of the show. Um, I 30 years ago started as a dealer in the hobby, doing mall shows and VFW shows, and I am went from there to work in Major League Baseball for a couple of years, and then private business for a while, but always stayed kind of as a private broker, and to this day work as a private broker, but launching a new venue or venture.
And what is that new venture?
Hobby News Daily, as you said, and it is a multimedia news entertainment platform to cover the hobby. So it's original writing. It is fantastic YouTubers like yourself, and so exposing people who enjoy good content and enjoy the hobby. Kind of, we're calling ourselves the homepage of the hobby. So it gives you a place to check in every morning. We'll have a little morning minute to start your day, and we're very excited. Very, very excited.
Yeah, so that's going to be at hobbynewsdaily.com. And I looked at the list of writers you've got. It's pretty. I'm trying to become somebody who says, when something's good, they say that's dope. I'm trying to become that guy. I think it's probably a little bit of a stretch. Like sick seems like I could probably pull off, hey, that's sick for something that's good. But I want to be a guy who says that's dope. And the list of writers and contributors to Hobby News Daily is dope.
Well, thank you. I'm not nearly cool enough to say that. I will.
I'm not either.
I will say you're right. You're not either. But I will say that I am so proud. Like that. Like that. Absolutely is part of the reason that I am. The little sleep I'm getting is good sleep right now, because I mean the quality of people, including yourself, is first rate.
Yeah, it's impressive. So let's talk a little bit more about your background because you said something to me recently that was really interesting. You were on the field for Cal Ripken's last game in an Orioles uniform. Is that right?
I was on the field for his retirement ceremony, the actual ceremony where they present him with the gifts and he's sitting there, and yeah, that whole presentation. I was part of the Orioles staff. That yeah, I was there.
How does a regular guy like you were like, I don't know, 14 years old at that time?
I was working for the Orioles at the time, and as an employee of the Orioles, I was managing their sports art and memorabilia gallery. So one of the gifts that the Orioles gave to Cal was a picture by an artist that I had commissioned. Actually, I worked with Mrs. Angelos, and so I helped actually physically, logistically get the picture down there and help in the presentation, and to hopefully stay out of the way and not screw it up.
And that was that your first job out of college, or was it during college that you started there?
So actually, I went to college at Emory in Atlanta. So my first job was with the Atlanta Braves. I was
Doing
from
what?
taking advantage of an understaffed team. They opened Turner Field after the Olympics, and they had never had a season in Turner Field before it was converted from the Olympic Stadium to the baseball stadium. People may not remember, but to save money, that was their idea. They would have the main Olympic stadium. Then after the Olympics, they had a way to do a very small amount of construction to make it a baseball stadium. The Braves opened up. I was hired for a relatively entry level job, and uh, a month or two before opening day, I was approached and they said, "Listen, we forgot to hire for basically an entire department." And I worked as a liaison. If you remember, Turner Field had the 22-foot Coke bottle in left field. It
Yeah.
was very, very famous for that big Coke bottle. I was in charge of the Coke bottle. That So
Hang
Coca
on, I just got the name for this video. He was in charge of the Coke bottle at Turner Field.
right, instead of Cocaine Bear, it was Coke Bottle Danny.
Yes,
And yeah, no. So I was employed by the Braves, but I had to make sure Coca Cola was happy. They spent several $1 million on that area,
sure.
and obviously, just making sure that they felt they were getting good value for their money and that the fan experience was first rate. And I got to work with some of the players on some of the giveaways and promotions, and that was my first job out of college. And then I got very blessed that they underhired and I got over promoted, and ended up being very very cool.
Some baseball fans grow up and they dream of working for a Major League Baseball team. Some baseball fans grow up and they become credit card salesmen in their first jobs right out of college, and that was me. I'm thinking that you won on that one.
I'm not sure. You seem so much happier every time we talk. Um, yeah,
Uh,
the
Credit
truth of
card
it
sales was miserable.
the truth of it is, I never expected it to be much more than kind of a summer job staying in Atlanta. And it really, I really got lucky. I also worked for the Atlanta Historical Society. So I got to give tours of the stadium, and I got to learn Braves history. So as a total baseball dork and a total historical nut, that was actually just as cool as hanging out with the Coke bottle and all the Powerade I could drink. That was the big benefit, because Coke was really pushing Powerade. This is showing my age. This was when Powerade was first coming out,
Yeah.
and they were pushing it. So I got Powerade by the case, and I could take that back to the fraternity house. And yeah, no, that was the big perk.
So you're a fraternity guy.
Wow, that's you put me in a corner quick on that one.
Hey, you said
At,
it.
at Emory, the social life revolved around the Greek system. I never expected to be a fraternity guy. I am proud of my time in the fraternity, but it's funny. I'm still sensitive of being thought of as Animal House. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I pretty much was, I guess.
So you worked at Atlanta, and how did you end up back in Baltimore? Because you're from Baltimore, right?
Yeah, so after when I was done at Emory, I moved back to Baltimore. I got a job with the Orioles. So that was my transition.
And was the first job at the art museum?
It was. I'll never forget. They told me that there's like no jobs open. They got this one kind of position open, but you have to really know sports memorabilia and sports art. And I completely lied to them and told them that I knew sports art, and I faked my way through it. I knew sports memorabilia a little bit.
Nobody's ever gotten a job where they actually knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, so I totally faked my way into it, and after a couple years there, I got to meet some incredible artists. James Fiorentino, who now is very popular in the hobby, was a young artist at the time. So him and I were both kids, kind of coming up at the same time, and I got to see just some incredible work and some guys who really made sports art. I think the predecessor to a lot of the top series and a lot of the stuff we see now. These were a lot of the guys doing it originally, so that was really cool.
Yeah, James Fiorentino, if anybody wants to Google him, pretty spectacular stuff.
Yeah,
So, who's the best Oriole of all time?
best probably Frank Robinson or Jim Palmer,
Okay.
but Frank obviously had his career split, so
Mhm.
But the Orioles only have 5 statues. So it's Murray, Ripken, Palmer, Earl Weaver, and Frank. So um, Brooks, Frank, Earl, Calinetti. There we go. Brooks, Frank, Earl, Calinetti.
And what is the most valuable Baltimore baseball card of all time?
And Palmer. The Ruth News American.
Yeah, 1916, right?
1914. Baltimore News American
1914.
was the local paper, and they distribute it.
Yeah, I did a video on that a while back, and so I'm disappointed in myself for not remembering what year it was. But
To be fair, I was at the Babe Ruth Museum this week,
yeah,
and I spent time with the card,
yeah.
as I often like to just visit him, and so to be fair, I was recently updated myself on the info.
So if that were to sell today, what would it sell for?
15 million.
So more than the 52 Mantle SGC 9.5 that sold for 12.6.
So my understanding is there's actually a Wagner that sold in a private sale for more than 12.6 that graded a 3 or 4. So I think the Mantle's already been beat. And
Hmm.
I think if this were to go to sale, that would try to top the Wagner record.
Hmm.
Now there is more than one of this Ruth News American. So the question is, will another one ever come out and see the light of day? And
Yeah.
what grade would that have on it? That to me would be awesome.
So for anybody who's saying, wait, Babe Ruth, Baltimore, what is he talking about? Can you just enlighten people about how did Babe Ruth end up on the Red Sox?
Okay, I should have worn my Babe Ruth shirt. Babe Ruth was born in
By
Baltimore.
the way, for anybody who's watching, I'm putting him completely on the spot here. I did
Yeah,
not prep him with any questions.
no, let's do this. So Babe Ruth was born in Baltimore. He was actually born in his grandparents' house. So his dad worked at a saloon. His mother was in and out of the hospital with different medical problems. Babe was born in his grandparents' house, which was pretty customary at the time, and grew up in a not so different childhood as a lot of kids in the Baltimore dockside at the time. His parents were not able to full time take care of him. He was not. He was put into St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys in Baltimore. That's where he learned to play baseball. Father Matthias was given guardianship over Babe, and when Jack Dunn, who owned the Federal League Orioles at the time, came to Father Matthias, they got Babe's parents' blessings, and Babe was then a member of the Baltimore Orioles minor league team. And this would have been 1913, 1914. From there, which essentially being a minor league team, Jack Dunn's goal was to make money, and then a year later sold Babe Ruth to the Red Sox. But that's where he got the name Babe Ruth. He was called Jack Dunn's baby. So it was George Herman Ruth, but Jack Dunn, because he took custodial care of him out of St. Mary's, he was called Babe Ruth. He was called Jack Dunn's baby, and that was where he got the
Fascinating.
name Babe Ruth. And that's
And
when he
the
left Baltimore.
and the Federal League went out of business right after, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm weaker on the Federal League than I am on the St. Mary's Industrial School.
Yeah, I don't think it was long after.
It
I
was
think it
not.
was just like a fire sale. All right, so we're establishing some hobby bona fides here. You passed first quiz. What is the most valuable Cal Ripken baseball card of all time?
The Orange Border Police distribution set from the Charlotte Orioles, 1980. And there would have been two versions, a blue and an orange. The orange was never publicly distributed. So the blue version was distributed at the team store, but the orange version was only distributed physically by the police when they would do like in school classroom talks, similar to like when we had the DARE program. If you grew up during that, they would go into the classroom and teach you, good lessons, and they would give out cards. And it wouldn't just be Cal Ripken; it would be anybody on the team. It was a set. So that orange border, because it was never publicly distributed, is the most valuable Ripken.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Chris Sewell, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. I have to say it every time. Are
Yes,
you familiar with Chris?
yes, I can't say it without tongue twisting myself, but yes,
Yeah. Um, and he is a super collector of Cal Ripken Jr. cards, and that's his grail.
yeah,
He's
uh,
bid on them on eBay before, and they just go too high.
it is the grail for a lot of us who grew up in this area or are Ripken fans, without a doubt.
So What's how many PSA graded orange Cals are there from 1980? Is it
Oh
like
wow.
single digits, double digits?
No more than double digits if you're talking about total graded. Graded anything decent is very low. I should know the numbers off the top of my head, but
No,
it's been
that's
a couple years since I actually it's been a couple years since I've dealt with it. But I know of at least three, and one I've seen in person
mm.
that are PSA graded decently.
And are we talking five figures for a
We
reasonably high grade one?
oh yeah, yeah.
Not six figures though.
Not six figures. I think it's because it's a minor league card. There's still some hesitation where, believe it or not, his tops traded in a 10 can still be a $5,000+ card. Um,
I just gave
so
away a raw one that looked really good.
the tops traded.
Yeah.
Well, that was very generous of you. I hope you got a receipt. I hope it was to charity. No, I mean that's wow. Yeah, no, that's a good card.
Hmm.
I
I
feel
had
like
duplicates
I
of it.
feel like I've delivered bad news here. This just got weird on me.
No, it's okay. All right. So you are a Baltimore super fan. You can be found anywhere on any social media platform at SportsBalt, as you can see on the screen here. And I mean, I don't know how you maintain all these social media sites. I have a hard time maintaining Instagram, and you have Instagram and Twitter, and you have an eBay store too with some pretty cool cards in there. And you probably do TikTok dances, and I'm just not even aware of it.
I've been doing TikTok dances for well beyond TikTok being around. Um, we've just now been able to. I'm not on TikTok, but I am very lucky that in Baltimore I get to talk a little Orioles and Ravens and not just hobby. So yes, I do a little bit in Baltimore, and then but I love the hobby and I love shows like this. So who wouldn't want to do this?
Yeah. So you're also now, because of your vast hobby experience, you are a broker of cards. Tell me what that means. Cards and memorabilia and things like that.
I tell people it's like a real estate agent. I don't want to own the house, but I want to show the person who's interested, where they can find one, or I want to take the person who wants to sell one where we can find a buyer. So I kind of play that broker agent role, and I have a blast. I sort through cards. I spend hours doing it. I get to work with some really cool clients with some really cool stuff, and I sit there and my job is to help them out and be completely jealous all day that I wish I had all these cards.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And you remember you telling me that you were or had somebody who wanted a 51 Bowman maze at one point, and it was your job to go and find it.
um, Leading up to the national, actually this time of year, we get the client shopping list. So right now the client shopping list is building and there is a 51 Bowman on the shopping list. I've bought one before last year. Was it the national? I did the 48-49 Leaf Jackie for a client. That was that's just fun to shop for. I mean,
Is
who
that what
are we
we're saying
kidding?
now? 48, 49 Leaf. I know like PSA puts 48 Leaf on their labels. And I know they were produced in 49.
I was doing it to save your comments on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you have a very educated viewer base, and I just wanted to cover all my bases. So I hope that whatever way you feel about that set, that I was politically correct.
Yes, I think that works. And you even have a top shirt on. I need to get more hobby shirts.
You know, it is just so soft. I'd love to tell you that there was a ton of thought put into this. Most of my shirts are hobby shirts, and Mike's a cool guy.
I'm
I
really
want to
not.
I want to be comfortable. I want to be
You've already
chill.
established that I'm not cool enough to say something is dope.
That can both be true, and you can be cooler than me. It's not
Yeah.
a yeah. That's not a high bar.
But my undershirt here, I'm not going to strip down or anything, but this is actually a Rube Foster shirt that Sammy Thunder gave to me at the National last year.
We've gotten closer to a Magic Mike moment than I really thought we would.
It's never going to happen. Um, So you have tons of experience. What's the craziest card you've ever had in your possession? The Babe Ruth doesn't count. One that you either owned or you were selling for somebody or had to buy for somebody.
I'll tell you what I think the coolest one is, and it may not be the most valuable, but to me, by far the coolest was a Babe Ruth uncut strip, uh, 23W513. There goes comments if I'm wrong. Um, this was a couple years ago.
Jefferson Burdick is in my comments right
I
now.
I know. Please, if I'm wrong, people. It was a couple years ago, and Mike did not prep me. So it was an uncut sheet, PSA graded, pop like three, and it was. I think out of the five cards on the strip, there were three Hall of Famers, and it was uncut. And if one of the knocks on strip cards is post cutting, so
Right.
if the pre-cut card, I mean, it was gorgeous. It was historical. To me, that was just
Dope.
the bee's knees. How's that? Does that
Dope.
make me sound old and uncool?
I mean, we
Yeah,
are anyway, so
I'll say that's dope.
it's
No,
dope.
no, I tried it. We edit that out later.
I'm
Danny
going to be
Danny
getting
never said that.
I'm going to be getting comments for months from people saying this video was so dope.
In fact, if you ever see Mike, just run up to him and yell "dope."
My kids do, so it
Right,
makes sense in a different way though.
right.
So Hobby News Daily comes
Mhm.
out tomorrow. I'm posting this on Tuesday, so it comes out tomorrow, Wednesday, March 1st, which is a soft launch. What does the soft launch mean?
Soft launch is our first chance to give the public a taste of what the site's really going to be. So for right now, if you go to the site, there's some placeholders. We haven't put up any of the original writing yet. Uh, but starting on March 1st, all of our writers will start putting out their bios. So you'll get to meet our writing staff. We are going to start promoting our tremendous YouTubers like yourself. And we're going to start running the kind of the live site. The soft launch is also a very polite way to say we're going to work out all the kinks, so bear with us until we have the hard launch. And the hard launch is the one that we hope to, have all the kinks worked out by. But we are, it's up now, and it's looking pretty rad.
Yeah, rad, huh? So maybe I just post this on Wednesday. Is that best?
You
We're right
know,
in real time here, making
th-
decisions.
this is your show.
So you
I've not,
have,
I've never been a guest on your show. This isn't my call.
you're very lucky.
Yeah, I'm totally honored.
So I looked at the list of people. You've got a lot of collectors. You have longtime experts in the industry contributing via writing. You have a podcast that's part of this. You have a doctor who's going to write about injury impacts to card values and things like that. It's pretty all encompassing. If you're an ultra modern collector, you're going to find somebody that you might be interested in. If you are a vintage guy, there are plenty of people who are going to be writing about vintage and things that are happening in the hobby. I've been very impressed as I watched this kind of unfold in the last month or so.
Well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, um, we have a group of friends off air that we share the passion for the hobby, but we don't all collect identically. And that's kind of a microcosm of what I wanted this site to be. I wanted to be a common passion, but if you're a non-sports card person, we have a tremendously knowledgeable person on non-sports cards. If you're curious about Patrick Mahomes' ankle going into the Super Bowl, like you said, yeah, there's a doctor who's would write an article to give us some insight there, and who's treated professional athletes. But we also have some great veteran hobbyists, and I'm really proud to say Rich Klein will be contributing, Mike Moynihan, John Newman, Horatio Ruiz. Jason from who's part of the Saber baseball card committee. I mean, talk about people that know their stuff. We have I think about a 10-person writing staff right now, and that does not include me because I realize that I am not nearly as good as the ones we have. So I'll be probably doing more podcasts. But I mean, and then people like you on the YouTube side. I mean, it's such a variety of great content. People that you know, people that you will get to discover. So I could not be more excited.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. It looks really cool. And I was telling Danny when it first popped up on Instagram, I didn't realize it was you. And I looked at it and I was like, oh man, and it just said coming spring 2023. And I thought, oh, that looks awesome. I would love to contribute to something like that. And then Danny just sent it to me blindly. And I replied back, that's something you'll be all over, thinking because he loves to contribute to this stuff and write. And then you were like, yeah, that's me. That's my website.
That was my all too awkward way to pick you up. That was my subtle way to say that we want good people, and I was trying to pick you up.
Just like an awkward
Mm-hmm.
asking me out on a date.
There's no hobby Tinder. See, that's what we need.
Hobby
we,
Tinder.
we need hobby Tinder. I want I want Barry Bonds. No, we're going to swipe that way. I want the Cal Ripken orange border. We're going to swipe that. I don't even know which way to swipe. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been married for 20 years. My wife's probably ready to, just for not knowing. It's 20 years this year.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we've just invented hobby Tinder.
It's a great idea.
Put your card in and swipe right if you're interested, if somebody else is interested in it, and then you negotiate price.
Or maybe you just hang out with the person for a while and see if they're worthy of your card. You do a coffee and be like, you know what? You're not really a Greg Jeffries fan. You don't get my Greg Jeffries.
Greg Jeffries, yeah. Future star.
Little shout out there.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Little shout out there.
He was no Wally Joyner.
Okay. Better swing, Wally Joyner or Will Clark?
Oh, that's a really good question. Will Clark was a far superior player.
Better swing, Wally Joyner or Will Clark?
I can really picture Will Clark swing in my head. I can't picture Wally Joyner's.
Okay, everybody Google Wally Joyner swing, and then imagine he made contact more, and you would have Will Clark.
Yeah, yeah, Will Clark, man, borderline Hall of Famer. Wally Joyner had a nice career.
Rookie of the year.
What was Wally Joyner Rookie of the Year?
I believe so.
87, 6?
It's 87. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We're very cool. Let's talk about again about the cool words we should be able to use. Yeah, or we can talk about 40-year-old Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. So, thank you, Danny. This was awesome. We could go on forever, obviously, but I'd like to limit the length of these videos because people tend to not hang on for very long. But I appreciate you being on. Hobby News Daily rolling out March 1st, soft launch, hard launch April 1st. And you can be found anywhere at SportsBalt, except on TikTok.
Except on TikTok. I don't know. Maybe we'll start a TikTok. Check TikTok by the time this comes out.
I will.
Thank you for
Thanks, Danny. Me. Yeah, my pleasure. This was a good time.